Back to the drawing board, a ballot measure to raise funds for new San Diego fire stations failed. The political games that may have played a factor.
What you see here on this field is the best of humanity at work.
A San Diego tradition helping veterans get back on their feet, the resources and compassion offered this weekend at Stand Down.
Broadsword calling Danny boy. Prepare to beam us up.
My favorite, I think, is going to be this one right here, which is the very first one that came out.
I don't care about planning my birthday. I plan on, what am I doing for Comic-Con?
A dream come true for heroes and monsters. A live look at downtown San Diego where hundreds of thousands of fans are enjoying an epic Comic-Con weekend. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi inside the KPBS News studios.
And I'm Ebony Monet, live here in downtown San Diego at Comic-Con, right outside of the San Diego Convention Center. Maya?
Thanks, Ebony. 800 open acres have already blackened in the northern parts of Camp Pendleton as military and civilian firefighters continue to fight the Robler fire. The blaze, which erupted yesterday afternoon, was about 30% more than 24 hours later. 30% contained more than 24 hours later. Firefighters from Cleveland National Forest, City of San Diego, CAL FIRE are helping military firefighters subdue the blaze. A San Diego councilwoman says Mayor Kevin Faulconer tried to arrange a vote-swapping deal that ultimately killed her ballot measure to build new fire stations. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen has more.
For more than a year, Democratic City Councilwoman Marty Emerald had been working on a ballot measure to build 18 fire stations in San Diego. The firehouses would be paid for with bonds supported by an increase in property taxes. The measure was blocked on Tuesday after her Republican colleague, Lori Zaff, withdrew her support.
I'm not finding under these, having said what I said, that there is a necessity to move forward today with a fire bond, as I believe there's a much more comprehensive alternative.
Councilwoman Emerald's firehouse bond failed, she says, because she refused to participate in a vote-swapping deal organized by Mayor Kevin Faulconer. Emerald says the mayor promised Zaff would join Democrats in supporting the firehouse bond if Emerald sided with Republicans on a separate, unrelated measure to change city election rules.
It's too bad that partisan politics has come to this, but we see it everywhere, don't we? We see it in Congress. We see it now more vividly here in San Diego, and so they traded public safety.
The mayor's office sent KPBS a brief statement saying Emerald's allegations are untrue. Councilwoman Zaff said she had doubts about the firehouse bond measure from the beginning. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
The German city of Munich on alert tonight following a mass shooting that left 9 people dead. Officers say the 9th body may belong to one of the attackers. A spokesman for German Chancellor Angela Merkel says investigators are looking into possible terrorist links. The U.S. State Department sent out a warning to Americans to stay indoors during the investigation. San Diego residents are worried that one of their family members may have been detained in Iran. The Union Tribune reports Gholamraz Shahini traveled there earlier this month, but friends and family here in the States haven't heard from him in more than a week. Shahini was staying in a town outside of Tehran. He is supposed to start a master's program in Homeland Security at SDSU this fall. Graduate students who teach classes on California State University campuses are calling for higher wages. They're in negotiations for a new union contract with the university system. Most graduate student employees take home about $500 a month for part-time work. Doctoral students see about $1,200 a month.
And that has to cover rent, that has to cover like food, all the kind of costs of living in a gentrifying city like San Diego. So it doesn't go very far.
PhD candidates do not pay tuition. Master's students typically must pay for their tuition. A CSU spokeswoman says the system values its employees and will do its best to improve compensation, but the state budget didn't meet its needs. Across the country, about 50 hospitals have begun to rate their own doctors online with 1 to 5 stars based on patient surveys. 2 Scripps medical groups now post their doctors' scores. But as Cheryl Clark with KPBS's partner iNewsSource discovered, all the doctors look pretty much the same. Now, Cheryl, would you say that this is just Scripps marketing, or can it help patients choose a better doctor?
Well, that's what I tried to find out. I discovered that it's probably a little bit of both. Scripps officials and others I talked with around the country say posting these stars gives doctors better display when they go on a Google search. But of the 406 Scripps doctors now scored, 92% got at least 4.7 out of 5 stars, which some experts say is kind of like a solid A. It doesn't really help patients differentiate. The worst scoring Scripps doctor got a 4.1, which might seem like a B.
Right, you're right. That doesn't seem very helpful. So what is the point then?
Well, there are several real benefits. I'm told that when doctors know they'll be rated publicly, they'll work harder to make patients have a better experience during an office visit. But I have to say, all the other health systems doing this across the country are taking transparency a lot farther than Scripps is. They're posting written comments patients gave on those surveys about their doctors. And some comments are pretty scathing. Patients said they felt rushed, or the doctor didn't explain things, or they were kept waiting. My sources said publicizing those remarks is key to helping patients discriminate. And they also help doctors know specific areas where they need to shape up.
Okay, so can you give us some examples of what the survey questions ask?
Well, that's an important point. They're not about whether the patient got the right diagnosis or treatment. It's more about the patient's interaction, like whether the doctor listened and communicated important information.
Cheryl Clark with iNewsSource, thank you.
Thank you.
A federal judge says he is inclined to deny a request to dismiss a lawsuit against Donald Trump. The suit accuses the Republican presidential nominee of defrauding customers at the now-defunct Trump University. U.S. District Judge Curiel did not elaborate on his thinking during a lengthy hearing today in San Diego. It is one of 3 lawsuits against Trump University. He will issue a final decision later. Now, all eyes on Philadelphia for the Democratic Convention, where Hillary Clinton is expected to accept the party's presidential nomination. KPBS anchor Ebony Monet chatted with NewsHour correspondent Lisa Desjardins about what we can expect next week.
There were no shortage, of course, of highlights from this convention. What are you expecting for next week, the Democratic National Convention? Do you think it will be as lively?
I think it will be a more conventional convention. I think it will be very lively. Democrats often have great music, great atmosphere of fun. The Democrats are a very lively group, but I think as far as the speakers go, these will be guests that probably people are more familiar with than some of the names, personal friends of Donald Trump that we saw at the Republican convention. I think that we will see Democrats trying to personalize Hillary Clinton. There will be a few Democrats that will go after Donald Trump, of course, but I think this will be about trying to convince Americans that they can trust Hillary Clinton, and also that she has a plan, more of a plan than Donald Trump. Now, it's going to be tricky because you don't want to get into the weeds with convention night. You want to create inspiration and, again, electricity. So they have to show Americans that she has real policy ideas without getting too much in the weeds. I think they're going to just talk in broad strokes about her ideas and talk specifically about her as a person.
Now, you talked about unifying the party. Bernie Sanders has already come out and endorsed Hillary Clinton. Still, some of his supporters promised to protest. Do you think this will be like a small minority, or do you think this could possibly be very disruptive?
This remains to be seen. It's a very important aspect to watch next week. Bernie Sanders has, I think, some 1,300 delegates at this convention. That is a large number. And they are people who feel very strongly about his message and about the issues he represents, especially inequality and problems he sees with Wall Street in this country. I don't know how these protests are going to go, but I can tell you we might get a hint tomorrow, Saturday, when we are expecting to see some of those who support Bernie Sanders bring a very large petition to the Democratic Rules Committee asking that the whole idea of superdelegates, those automatic party officials that get a vote at conventions, these Sanders voters want to overturn that idea. They want to erase the idea of superdelegates. They're going to petition the Rules Committee on that tomorrow. We'll see kind of what happens there. How do those passions collide? Is there animosity? How does that tension boil up? Or is that just a Democratic discussion that might be awkward or unpleasant, but that they get through? How they handle that discussion over superdelegates will tell us something about the next week between Bernie Sanders fans and supporters at this convention and Hillary Clinton's.
Ebony Monet with NewsHour correspondent Lisa Desjardins. You can follow the NewsHour coverage of the Democratic Convention right here on KPBS. That starts Monday night. The 29th annual Stand Down for Homeless Veterans kicks off at San Diego High today. The 3-day event matches up services to vets that need them, like medical checkups, job counseling, and housing assistance. They can also pick up supplies. The event usually draws about 1,000 veterans over the course of the weekend. Stand Down started in San Diego in 1988 and has since spread around the nation. The VA San Diego Health System has a new director. Robert M. Smith is taking over at a time when the VA continues to struggle to hire enough people to meet the rising demand. KPBS's Steve Walsh has the story.
Do they need my signature or just my okay, or what do they need?
Signature.
All right.
A San Diego native, Robert Smith, has been working at the San Diego VA since 1993. He takes the reins at a time when the VA continues to face scrutiny over its backlog of patients.
My goal, and frankly I think the VA's primary goal, has got to be to assure that veterans have access to health care.
The challenges include hiring. Since the beginning of the year, 3 of the top 5 management positions in San Diego have been open, a problem faced by VAs around the country. The national scandals have made recruitment tougher, though Smith says VA staff is often loyal.
People are very committed to the mission of providing really high-quality health care to veterans. They stay in the job even when the salary structures are not perfect and when there is a level of criticism that they feel very uncomfortable with.
Smith had been acting director since the former director, Jeff Gehring, stepped down in December after less than 3 years on the job. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
We continue our analysis of Donald Trump's unconventional convention, and we puzzle over what happened to 2 long-term plans for San Diego's waterfront. One of them approved by the Coastal Commission. The KPBS Roundtable tonight at 8:30.
San Diego trolleys are going to be a lot more packed over the next few days thanks to thousands of Comic-Con attendees. iNews Source reporter Leo Castaneda has been researching this. Leo, what can people expect the next couple of days?
The Metropolitan Transit System told me this is their biggest ride generator of the year. They're looking at as much as 300,000 new riders during Comic-Con. So people taking rides to downtown in the Green Line, which is where we are.
So the biggest rider generator of the year, so I would think that would make July the busiest time here on the trolley. Is that accurate?
To some degree it is. It is one of the busiest months of the year, but all of summer is really busy. There's so many events. There's as many as 280 events throughout the year for which the trolley system adjusts its service. And that means that there's people going to the baseball games, to the Chargers games. So July's great, but all of summer is great for the transit system.
So I would think an extra 200,000, 300,000 people may be a bit of a headache, but it's actually a good thing. Why is that?
That's right. For one, they're adjusting service to meet the huge demands, and they're hoping that this will introduce people to the trolley system, and they'll say, hey, that wasn't that bad. I'm going to take it to a baseball game, or I'm going to take it to Seaport Village when I go down there this weekend.
And it's going to be easier, even easier this weekend to ride the trolley. I hear they're like ramping up the routes.
Exactly. They're going to speed up the process and even shorten the wait times to 7 minutes in some of the busiest periods to help people get in and out of the convention center as quickly and painlessly as possible.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your work, Leo.
Thank you.
Everyone out here is feeling the heat, and there's no relief in sight. With more on that, Heather Waldman has tonight's KPBS Weather Report.
Temperatures have gone from seasonable to steamy over the last couple of days, prompting heat advisories for the Inland Empire. Parts of San Diego and Los Angeles counties at risk for temperatures up to 100 degrees. As we go through this weekend, satellite and radar showing quiet conditions for the Golden State, but the monsoonal moisture is still churning away across the Four Corners. Not going to see any wet weather from that. Instead, we'll just see the clouds at the coast. Otherwise, a fair bit of sunshine over the next couple of afternoons. Mainly clear tonight in the metro area. Temperatures will stay in the upper 60s, so even overnight at the coast, staying pretty mild. Here's a look at the rest of the county for tonight. Upper 50s in Ramona, upper 70s in Borrego Springs. Again, the farther inland you go, the hotter it's going to be. Hence the need for those heat advisories, where the heat index later in the day could be about 110 to 115 degrees in some of those desert locations. You certainly want to be careful if you're planning on being out and about this weekend. The heat is going to continue to expand north and westward into the central valleys of California through Saturday. Notice our monsoonal moisture. It stays well off to the east from Tucson up towards Denver, expecting some of those thunderstorms. Los Angeles, San Diego will see the clouds to start the day and then more sunshine later on. Here's your temperatures at the coast. Little warm for this time of the year. We're normally in the mid to upper 70s. Instead, some spots could register in the mid 80s Saturday and into Sunday. Again, the clouds in the morning and a little breeze off the water will keep it from feeling too hot. And then we'll cool it back down Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Highs will stay in the lower 80s with some clouds in the morning and then more sunshine returning for the afternoon. Again, inland areas where we have that heat advisory, temperatures expected to be close to the triple digits on Saturday. When you factor in that bright sunshine during the afternoon, it's going to feel quite a bit warmer than that, so do keep that in mind. Mid-90s on Sunday, then low 90s Monday through Wednesday should allow those heat advisories to expire, but nonetheless, it's only a difference of a few degrees, so you still want to take the same precautions, drink plenty of water, and avoid the hottest part of the day, late morning into the middle of the afternoon, if you're looking to get in any exercise or outdoor time. Look into the mountains. Hot here as well. Mid-90s Saturday and Sunday, and then gradually cooling off as we go into early next week. We'll be back closer to the average Tuesday and Wednesday. Highs will be in the upper 80s. Even a chance for an afternoon shower or thunderstorm Tuesday and Wednesday as that monsoonal moisture takes a shift a little bit farther to the west. Here's the deserts where you expect the heat, but this is hot even for this area. 115 Saturday and Sunday, above 110 again on Monday. Be around 108, 109 Tuesday into Wednesday with a chance for a stray thunderstorm by the time we get to the middle of the week. I'm Heather Waldman for KPBS News.
There are a lot of cosplayers represented out here today. Those are people who dress up as fictional characters. We're getting a closer look at how these cosplayers do Comic-Con. KPBS video journalist Chris Arciaga, she's going to show us an up-close look at how they do Comic-Con with a longtime cosplayer who also happens to be her cousin.
This year's WonderCon Pass, which was like totally upgraded. I've been going to Comic-Con for 10 years. It's like, really? It went from paper to like some hardcore tag thing. Comic-Con is basically like my yearly thing. I don't care about planning my birthday. I plan on like, what am I doing for Comic-Con? When you're in costume, people kind of give you like a respect where it's just like, oh, let them get through because they're dressed up, like don't want to mess up their costume. I haven't seen many Shadaloo camis. I've looked all over the internet and haven't seen anything. I like to do characters that like no one really chooses or wants to do. Like last year I did a Wampa, and it's like, who wants to be a Wampa? I try to buckle down 3 months prior. It ends up being like 1 month prior, and then I'm like sweating, like I'm sweating now, trying to get costumes done. They usually use this for customizing like vinyl toys and stuff. Here is one of her arm guards that I made. So I actually took foam sheets and made the shape. This is actually a marine hat that was spray painted. It's all about like having that confidence, getting the joy out of like people coming up to you and appreciating that you did this. I've sat and thought like, when will I stop? And I've seen like women that still cosplay, even men, like they still cosplay till they're like 50 and stuff. And like, they look awesome, like they look amazing. Like, I would want to look that amazing when I'm like 50 years old and still do it, because it's fun.
For more than 2 decades, a San Diego woman and her family and friends have put on a Klingon play, which they perform and rehearse every year at Comic-Con, where we got a chance to see up close exactly what they do. We were invited to the dress rehearsal. Matt Bowler is going to bring us that story with more of the battle cry.
Broadsword calling Danny boy. Prepare to beam us up.
When I met my husband Dennis working at Disneyland, he told me he liked to wear costumes. When we got married, he wanted a Star Trek II, the Wrath of Khan costume.
That strange flash that we saw up here.
It's surreal, very surreal.
This is the mirror universe.
It started out as just an informal get-together out on the sails to a written, scripted show, which is what you see today.
And I heard the Alliance has taken over the freebie town.
It's like very cheap community theater.
Get back!
It's fun. We try to make it as professional as possible, but we're all out here to have a good time. You may have won the battle, but not the war. It's wonderful. We're all like one large family. That's our son right there.
That's DJ, okay.
And this is his fiancee, Mallory. There's one lady over there that I've known since my daughter and her daughter were babies together. So, and this is Emma. Laurel, Robert's sister Laurel, is getting married to Justin here, and this is his little girl. And both my kids have been in costumes since they were infants. My grandson, he's already been a Klingon. Well, it's the 50th anniversary of Star Trek altogether this year, so it's huge this year.
I will send your body straight to Grithor. That's it, guys! We are done for!
Comic-Con draws more than 130,000 visitors. Many people are here to show off their costumes, but for others, it's all about the makeup. KPBS video journalist Katie Shulov spent the day at the Cinema Makeup School, where an artist transformed an actor into a superhero.
Hi, it's Madison from Cinema Makeup School. We're currently doing a cool transformation on Katie here. Now on to the ball cap. So we are doing for Comic-Con a Bizarro makeup, and it's kind of like a gender bender theme. Bizarro is a Superman villain. Superman. He was cloned, and in the cloning process, kind of like got messed up. It should just slide over just as is. So you take a life cast of the person, then the sculpt, then you have to mold each of those pieces. So months really go into something like this. We are about halfway finished. We're going to pack up our stuff and head over to Comic-Con. This is my first time applying at a con. We've officially put on the face here. Crunch time.
The exhibit hall will be closing in 15 minutes.
I'm pretty happy with it for our first test makeup, really. We apply it 2 more times this week. Each time it'll get quicker, faster, easier, better. We're gonna walk her around and get some photos.
Me no, Katie. Me Bizarro. We must kill Superman.
For many people here, Comic-Con has become a huge display of pop culture, but for some people, it's still about the little side, the smaller side, actually. KPBS video journalist Nick McVicker is showing us a look at that smaller side.
My favorite, I think, is going to be this one right here, which is the very first one that came out. You can also tell it's the most played with. Hi, I'm Rami Tataishi, and I'm an assistant professor at National University. And my collection back here is of R2-D2, the robot from Star Wars. Started collecting those back, well, when the first one came out back in 1978. Yeah, I started collecting these R2s because I just, you sort of accumulate them as birthday presents and Christmas gifts. At some point, you sort of have to whittle down and, kind of focus your collection, otherwise it just kind of takes over. But I also have some at work and some in my garage and in my closet. Comic-Con, it's a really fun event. It's really changed a lot over the years, but it's still just fun to go and see all these people who just love all the same kinds of things that you do. And a few months or so before Comic-Con, they'll start announcing the exclusive merchandise, the stuff that you can only get at Comic-Con. And so if I see something there that I really want, then I'll go for that. Yeah, and it's really fun just to compare your collections and how you got the items. What is your personal history with the items? Do you have favorite ones and for what reasons? Comic-Con appeals to just such a wide range of people. So it's people who are interested in, the real big name stuff. If it's whatever, Game of Thrones, and you want to see all the stars sitting there together on stage and get a glimpse of the latest episode. But there's still avenues for, just smaller stuff.
That's it for us here live at Comic-Con. Back to you, Maya.
Thanks, Ebony. Now, this just into our newsroom, and just in time for the Democratic convention, Democratic presidential hopeful Hillary Clinton just announced her running mate on Twitter. Here's the tweet about Senator Tim Kaine from Virginia. Clinton writes, "I'm thrilled to announce my running mate, Tim Kaine, a man who's devoted his life to fighting for others." Clinton's campaign first announced the message to supporters via text message. Kaine sits on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. He was also the governor of Virginia. And as always, you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us from all of us here at KPBS. Have a great evening.